What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for stopping by the channel today. I got a little bit of extra for you. It is Sunday, October 3rd, 2021. I am JD from New York, and this is the OTS venue. Today, sponsored by Audible, audibletrial.com/script. Get 30 days free of Audible service and one free audiobook when you sign up using our link, audibletrial.com/script. Also, follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell for all notifications and hit that thumbs up. Let's try for 1,000 likes on today's extra. WWE Draft. Night 1 was on Friday. We got some more moves happening on Saturday during this week's edition of Talking Smack. We have another WWE tag team split up, and an NXT 2.0 star was moved to SmackDown. So as a result of the draft coming out of Saturday, this is where WWE made their next set of moves. Monday Night Raw gets Nia Jax, Doudrop, Zelina Vega, John Morrison, Reginald, R-Truth, Drake Maverick, T-Bar, No Mace, Tozawa, the Alpha Academy, Apollo Crews, and Commander Aziz. SmackDown gets Toni Storm, Aaliyah, Mace. So WWE split up T-Bar and Mace. Retribution, or whatever is left of Retribution, is no more. Drew Gulak, and one move that I think I am very interested in, man, I think this is going to be a good move for both of them. Mansoor and Ali now are on SmackDown. So those are the latest moves there for WWE. I'm very interested to see what WWE does with their tag team division. I don't think breaking up tag teams, even though nobody was really interested in Mace and T-Bar, is a good thing. So hopefully this is the only team that they end up breaking up. And if they were to break up one team, this is probably the best team to break up. Because as soon as T-Bar realized that he was going to be all alone on Monday Night Raw, he actually tweeted out that he may go back to his old gimmick or old persona of Dominic Dijakovic. Now, Mace, I don't know what this means for him on SmackDown. I'll get to him in a second. But with Mace moving over to SmackDown, T-Bar is going to remain on Monday Night Raw. They are officially split up. And T-Bar took to Twitter earlier on Saturday to comment on the move and made some rather interesting comments. He said this, and I quote, "Guess I'm all alone. Time to feast your eyes. Hashtag WWE Raw." Now, feast your eyes was Dominic Dijakovic's old catchphrase in NXT. T-Bar also changed his profile picture to a picture of him, not as Retribution T-Bar, but as Dominic Dijakovic, and his bio now reads FYE, which, like I said, means feast your eyes. This is a great move. I don't really trust WWE to do the right thing, but this is a great move. So I'm going to have a wait-and-see approach to what they do here. If WWE is taking T-Bar, which I hope that they do, eliminate the name, send him to Raw, and have him as Dominic Dijakovic, and really build upon him as an upper mid-card guy that could absolutely get into a feud with a Damian Priest or a Sheamus or a Keith Lee on Monday Night Raw. We all know the battles that they've had in the past. It is only going to make Monday Night Raw's roster stronger. It also puts a focus on WWE doing something that they absolutely need to do, and that is build new stars. T-Bar was going nowhere. Mace is going nowhere. I don't see Mace transforming himself into something else. I think he stays as Mace, and I think he fails on SmackDown. That gimmick goes nowhere. Dijakovic, on the other hand, you bring him back to his roots from what he did in NXT, and he's going to be a major player on Monday Night Raw. The guy can do things that really a guy that size should not be doing. And I was a huge fan of Dominic Dijakovic, man. He has something that WWE could absolutely take to the next level and really bolster that show. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with Dominik Dijakovic. I hope for the best in this situation. Like I said, I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach. If they keep him as T-Bar, WWE is doing themselves a complete disservice. And they're also really sticking it to Dominik Dijakovic because nobody should be stuck with that fucking gimmick, as that gimmick would go absolutely nowhere, as we've seen in the past, not only with Retribution, but whatever remnants of it were remaining with T-Bar and Mace as an actual tag team on WWE. I'm actually excited to see what WWE does with the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable and Otis. Now, they teased something on SmackDown as far as the Alpha Academy staring down the Usos. I guess WWE's plans for the draft came about in the last minute, because otherwise, why would you tease a potential tag team title feud between those two teams? I'm interested to see what they do on Monday Night Raw, but if it's more of the same as we saw on SmackDown, I'm not really giving the Alpha Academy much time to succeed on the main roster for Monday Night Raw. Apollo Crews being moved over to Monday Night Raw is a good move for him. I don't think he does anything more than what he was doing on SmackDown. WWE failed Apollo Crews big time as the Intercontinental Champion. I think this was a life-changing gimmick for him. I think he's owned it. I think he's done some of the best work of his career with this gimmick. WWE let him fully embrace it. But the sad thing is WWE themselves in creative did not fully embrace Apollo Crews. I don't really expect anything more from what we've already seen of him on SmackDown on Monday Night Raw, and I do think he settles back into that role that we've already seen him in, and this was well before he actually changed his gimmick to what we see now. John Morrison on Monday Night Raw, I would have actually moved him to SmackDown. I would have kept The Miz on Monday Night Raw, but the way I think about it now is, and the reason why they possibly made this move, maybe The Miz is moving over to SmackDown, because Miz is L.A., Miz is Hollywood, so Fox, L.A., their hometown is L.A., so I guess they moved The Miz over to SmackDown, keep John Morrison on Monday Night Raw. Whatever the end result is, I do think that they should be split up and they should not be on the same brand. I do think John Morrison should be pushed as a upper mid-card type babyface on Monday Night Raw, and I do think he should be challenging for an IC title or a WWE United States Championship. That's what I do think should happen there. The other moves, not really that big at all. Toni Storm stays on SmackDown. I don't really know what WWE is doing with Toni Storm. I think she has the potential to be a face of an entire division. So hopefully they get on the ball there and push Toni Storm in a way that we all expect WWE to push somebody like Toni Storm. Aaliyah, I'm very excited to see what they do with her. She actually got a lot better in NXT. I think she could add some value to WWE's women's division on the main roster. But the thing with Aaliyah is, in my opinion, I do think that there's a lot of similarities between her and Carmella. I would not be surprised if WWE actually teams Aaliyah up with Carmella if Carmella is staying on SmackDown. And Mansoor and Ali, man, I like the makeup of this tag team. I've said this from day one, even though WWE has done nothing with them as far as storylines or where they want to go with them. But I do think that if they let them go, they are a breakout tag team in that tag team division. The makeup of these two guys together is very good. So we'll see what happens there. But WWE and the draft continuing to make moves in the aftermath. The second night of the draft officially happens on Monday Night Raw. I will be live here on YouTube to go over all of it on the Monday Night Raw post show. Bray Wyatt. I got the latest on Bray Wyatt. We talked about Bray Wyatt on Off the Script this past weekend for episode 393, which if you guys missed is in your sub boxes right now. If you didn't see it, it's on the homepage. Go and check it out. Almost 2.5 hours of audio and video content. We break down the WWE draft and we do an entire WWE 2021 mock draft. And I got to pat myself on the back, man. I was very proud of what we did. And I do think that some of those moves, which you've seen actually happen, some of those moves would probably benefit WWE more so than what we've seen so far in the draft. But I got the latest on Bray Wyatt, and his whereabouts are a big talking point right now. Is he going to All Elite Wrestling? Is he going to Impact Wrestling? We don't know. But we finally got some confirmation on the whereabouts and the status of Bray Wyatt and what people are saying about his wrestling future. Brian Alvarez earlier this week said on the Observer Live that he does not believe that Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, will be going to All Elite Wrestling. Normally, I trust Brian Alvarez takes because his takes and my takes are very similar, and I really like where his mind goes when talking about the current products for AEW and WWE. I don't think he was really fully in the know when he said Wyndham is not going to AEW. I don't think that's something that Tony Khan or AEW wants out there. With CM Punk and Bryan Danielson, it's a different story. You see what they did and the tactics that they took and have taken to get their names out there and then debut them on TV and really make them a big focus point around building around them. I don't think that's going to be the case with Wyndham. I do think that his debut or wherever he goes is going to be so secretive that nobody is going to know. And I'm sure that Tony Khan wants to keep that secret because he's got a lot of surprises. He usually tells people when surprises are happening. He kept his mouth shut with Punk and Bryan. I don't think he's going to change the game up with Wyndham, but more so for Wyndham because there's a lot of mystery surrounding his character and what he's going to do and where he's going to go, and just a lot of mystery in everything that he does. So it's probably more so coming from Wyndham not revealing anything and not talking to anything, rightfully so, more so than Tony Khan. There is absolutely nothing that is 100% confirmed with Wyatt, but Alvarez said the following on Wrestling Observer Live last week. If you asked me, this is not confirmed because nothing is confirmed until somebody signs somewhere. The impression I have is that it is more likely he's going to Impact Wrestling, but here's the deal. Anything is possible. End quote. Now we have a follow-up to this story from Fightful, as they reported on Saturday that sources close to Wyatt are saying that there are no plans for him to join Impact Wrestling. Impact does have interest in Wyndham, and members of the roster were asked to reach out to him to see if he would be interested. But as of now, there's no clear indication on where he will show up. If he does show up for Impact Wrestling, then it would make sense to have him debut at Bound for Glory in Las Vegas. But Bound for Glory is actually happening before Wyndham's 90 days are up, so there's no possible reason or possible way that he would show up for Impact Wrestling during Bound for Glory in Las Vegas. My question is, who on the roster is talking to him? I'm pretty sure people on the roster know him. Is it a case of Braun Strowman, Adam Scherr, already signed with Impact? Now, if that's the case, they work together in WWE. Did Scott D'Amore and Impact Management sign Braun Strowman for Bound for Glory to debut on that pay-per-view? He's now an Impact employee. When they signed him, did it come with Scott D'Amore's request? Hey, we're bringing you in. We have mega interest in Wyndham. We know you guys work together in WWE. I'm sure you guys are very good friends. Can you reach out to him and gauge his interest on if he wants to come on in and do something with you here in Impact? I don't know who reached out to him, but if that is the case, and Strowman more than likely will end up with Impact, it could be a way for Scott D'Amore to get on in with Wyndham and see where his head is at about where he wants to work next. Now, I said this on Saturday's show, and I'm going to reiterate this very quickly here. I do think he's going to AEW. I do think Wyndham needs a stage like AEW to get across what he wants to get across. I do not see whatever he does and whatever he's planning to debut on Impact. You want that on the biggest stage possible. You want to be a part of the second biggest promotion in all of professional wrestling. You left number one, and the number two is probably the place where everybody wants to work. I don't see him going to Impact just for those reasons. I don't think the Dark Order teasing a breakup and having this dissent amongst them is something that is just happening because Tony Khan got bored and he needs to switch things up with the Dark Order. I think everything that is being done is happening for a reason. I do think Wyndham is coming on in to do what he needs to do with the Dark Order and pay homage to Brody Lee. That's what I do think is happening. Now, the only thing I would say here as far as Bray Wyatt or Wyndham Rotunda going to Impact is that they are probably a promotion that is a little bit more open to doing the hocus pocus and Firefly Funhouse puppets and the magic and all this other stuff, the fire, all the supernatural stuff that we saw Bray Wyatt do on WWE TV. That is probably a little bit more in Impact's wheelhouse. instead of AEW. You don't see any of that type of stuff on AEW television. So if Impact is interested, they are definitely going to remain interested in Bray Wyatt. AEW, they may be turned off by some of that, and they may say, listen, we love you, we want you, but we don't want none of that stuff on TV because that doesn't really fit what we're going for. Impact, that's definitely, like I said, their wheelhouse. So is that going to be enough for Wyndham to say, listen, I'll shed that stuff. I want to be here. I want to do Brody right. I don't want to go to Impact. It's a little bit of a tricky situation. Impact definitely has the foundation for him to do that type of stuff, whereas we don't usually see that type of stuff on AEW television. So they may fit him a little bit better than AEW would. But I think he knows at the end, money and star power and promotion and the stage being set, it all makes sense for AEW, and I do think he does end up with AEW. But that is the latest on Wyndham Rotunda. Fightful is saying that there are no plans for him to join Impact Wrestling, but like I said with the draft, it's going to be a wait and see situation. WWE has not medically cleared Rey Mysterio. Fightful is also reporting in regards to Rey Mysterio that Rey Mysterio is sidelined and he will not be wrestling this weekend's house shows in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Now, this is down to an undisclosed medical reason. He was originally advertised to wrestle the Bloodline as part of a six-man tag team match at the show. I do believe that six-man tag included Drew McIntyre, Cesaro, and Finn Balor instead. It is unclear what the exact medical issue is and how long the former WWE champion will be out of action. But Rey Mysterio was just drafted to Monday Night Raw with his son Dominic, and we will see what happens with him and Dominic now on Monday night. But Rey Mysterio right now is not medically cleared for in-ring competition with WWE. I got news on one other draft note, and then we'll get into what I want to talk about here before we end this extra for Saturday. I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore. Sunday, October 3rd, 2021. WWE told their superstars about their draft plans right before they were announced on SmackDown, and more than likely it's going to be the same thing for Monday Night Raw. Ringside News exclusively reported before the draft that WWE had all the draft plans set, and the networks were told about which rosters they will be getting come Friday and come Monday. That didn't help the superstars, though. It seems the company decided to change things up a bit for this year's edition of the WWE Draft from the looks of it. In the previous iterations of the draft, only the top stars in the company would be informed of them changing brands. Now, according to a report from PW Insider, the WWE superstars who were going to be drafted to different brands were informed about the same shortly before their official announcement by Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce. It was said that this was done in order to prevent WWE superstars from being caught off guard due to the brand switches. It remains to be seen who else will be drafted during the nights on Monday during night 2 of the draft. If nothing new for WWE to keep that kind of secret for themselves, it is definitely something that WWE has switched up, because in the past, nobody knew anything. And on a weekly basis, none of the talent even knows what they're doing for the shows, and sometimes have to reach out to social media to find out what they're exactly doing on Monday and Friday night, as there is an edict in place by Bruce Pritchard to not let anybody know until he gets word from Vince McMahon. That has been reported in the past. So WWE switched it up. And it could only be a stressful situation if you don't know where you're going. Their livelihoods, in some way, shape, or form, are going to be changed because they're used to one thing. They're used to one thing that one brand does. They're used to traveling with certain people. Now they may be pulled from that travel group. They have to find new travel companions and new travel buddies and all this stuff. So it's a little bit of a sticky situation for them. But WWE this year, they switched it up and let people know instead of going into the draft blind. One final thing I want to talk about here, guys. WWE superstar Top Dollar has expressed displeasure with many of his fan base, or many of the WWE universe, on social media because of Hit Row's untimely call-up to the main roster. As you guys know, Hit Row was called up to SmackDown on Friday night, and in my personal and honest opinion, it's almost as if you're putting cookies in the oven and you set the timer for about 20 minutes before those cookies are done, and you can't wait to get into those cookies that you pull the fucking tray out 4 minutes in and it's still dough. Cookies aren't ready, bro. Cookies are not ready. Hit Row was not ready for the main roster. I don't give a shit who blocks me on social media for my opinion. I don't give a shit what anybody has to say. If you're a fan of Hit Row, I don't give a shit what you got to say. They weren't ready. You, of all people, should know that an NXT talent in NXT, if you watch the show religiously like I do every single week and have done when they were back on the network at 1 hour, when they were actually good, you know when someone's ready. We've seen it. We've heard it. We've felt it. You knew when a Kevin Owens was ready. You knew when a Sami Zayn was ready. You knew when a Finn Balor was ready. You knew when an Adam Cole and Undisputed Era were ready. Hit Row was not ready. In fact, there are other names besides Hit Row that should have made the main roster before they did. Pete Dunne, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, LA Knight, Cameron Grimes, just to name a handful. Hit Row was not ready, okay? Top Dollar took to social media, and he wants fans to know the same thing is not going to happen to Hit Row, meaning everybody said that they're not ready, and everybody thinks that the group is getting fast-tracked to the main roster and that they will be let down due to what happens on the main roster is vastly different than what happens in NXT, or I should say what happened in NXT, because the people that run the main roster now are running NXT 2.0. So AJ Francis wants fans to know that the same thing is not going to happen to Hit Row. Top Dollar says that their debut promo, which was a dark segment on SmackDown after SmackDown aired, was not scripted, and he wants fans to not compare Hit Row to quote-unquote other people who couldn't transition to the main roster. He said this, and I quote, "Stop comparing us to other people who couldn't transition to the main roster. We can promo. Thanks, management." End quote. In a follow-up tweet, he said this, "Last night we cut a promo, unscripted, like every promo we ever cut. We made us. Stop talking about things you don't know." End quote. Now, let me try and cut these tweets down. Clearly, you did not make you. Triple H made you, and Triple H had the right mindset to pair you four together. So, number one, you're wrong right there. You took it, and Triple H allowed you to go out there and make your own gimmick. You were given a freedom that not many people are allowed in this company. What makes you think, now that Triple H was never in charge, by the way, and he isn't in charge anymore. Triple H hasn't been in charge of NXT since the move to the USA Network, and that was clearly evident by what you were watching on TV. What makes you think that that same energy is going to continue on the main roster? Do you know who writes these shows? Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon, with John Laurinaitis and Kevin Dunn and everybody else on Vince McMahon's fucking circus team. They write these shows. So what makes you think that you're going to go unscripted for the entire time you're on the main roster and be given a freedom that not even legends have in this company? I honestly am witnessing four people right now, mostly Swerve and mostly Top Dollar. Their heads are getting bigger and bigger by the second, knowing that they are on the main roster. And what have they done? What have they done in this company to even attempt to have that type of ego already? You've done nothing. You've done absolutely nothing. So when people like me say that you're fast-tracked to the main roster and you needed at least another 18 to 24 months in NXT, why is that something that you take to heart? I don't understand these people. Pro wrestlers are the biggest marks for themselves, and that is the way it is. And then in turn, they want to blame the fan base for everything that they say, and then they take it to heart. Meanwhile, sometimes, I would say actually most of the time, they actually agree with some of the fan base and their sayings, like me. They're not going to admit it, but they absolutely do. Now, I'm happy for Hit Row. I am. I've said this time and time again. When they were in NXT, I was happy that they got together. The group looked great. They sounded great. But you clearly saw that they were unseasoned. They were not ready at all. I even went on record and said that they have the potential to be the next undisputed era in NXT, being that NXT killed that group and they were the best thing in NXT for 4 years. They had the potential to be that. What is so wrong with saying you could be that in NXT and you should have been that in NXT? What is so wrong with fans expressing their opinion in that way about Hit Row? Realistically, Swerve didn't do anything with the North American Championship. He hasn't even wrestled in, 3 months? I don't even remember the last time Swerve wrestled. He hasn't defended the North American Championship once. He probably is going to end up dropping it to Santos Escobar in a very predictable outcome because he's not on NXT anymore and they all got fast-tracked to the main roster. So there really is nobody else in line for a North American Championship but Santos Escobar. I said Legado del Fantasma was probably a little bit more of a better fit for the main roster right now while Hit Row stays on NXT and gets the seasoning that they need down there. Legado was ready to go. They've been ready to go. Santos is ready to go. Joaquin Wilde is ready to go. Raul Mendoza is ready to go. So why not call them up to the main roster instead of Hit Row? I don't really understand that. So this is where everybody's anger is coming from because I laid the truth down upon you and people can't handle the truth because you're such a fan. Your fandom has blinded you in regard to Hit Row. Now, the other thing he said is that he doesn't want fans to compare Hit Row to other people who couldn't transition to the main roster. I'm sorry, what makes you think you're going to transition to the main roster? What makes you think that things are going to be different for you? You've done nothing in WWE. Who exactly hasn't transitioned to WWE's main roster from NXT? Do you realize that many of the people that transitioned from NXT to the main roster were killed for more than one reason or another? Keith Lee, buried. Ricochet, buried. Bobby Roode, buried. Shinsuke Nakamura, he's been in the mid-card since he's got called up. Sami Zayn's went nowhere. Look at what they're doing to Kevin Owens. The only ones that have done anything are Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and that's pretty much it outside the ladies. Charlotte, Sasha, Becky, and Bayley. That is it. Look at what they're doing currently to Toni Storm. Look at what they did to Aleister Black. Look at what they did to Andrade. Street Profits are semi-successful, but they're not even at a level that I think they should be at. Look at what they did to the Viking Raiders. Look at what they did to Dijakovic. So please, Top Dollar, let me know where you're coming from with all this nonsense that you're speaking. Your ego is clouding your judgment, which right now sits at 0. How did they not transition to the main roster? You do realize that none of them were given an opportunity to transition to the main roster. Not one single opportunity. And with the inner turmoil between Vince McMahon, Bruce Prichard and his team, and Triple H, and the fact that NXT got their asses handed to them by AEW, and now Vince McMahon has a grudge out for NXT and Triple H and has punished Triple H, and Vince McMahon's team sabotaged Triple H in every sense of the fucking word, with AEW slaughtering them in the Wednesday night ratings. You don't think that all of these moves were calculated and everybody was buried because Vince McMahon saw Triple H and what he was doing? And he didn't want any of that to be on the main roster because if it was, then he'd have to admit that Triple H and what he was doing was right. And Vince McMahon's never going to let anybody be more right than he is. Top Dollar seriously does not know what he's talking about. Stop talking about things you don't know. Motherfucker, I know more than most. And I don't even work there. All you got to do is open your eyes. Seriously. I'm going to give Hit Row an opportunity. And I hope I'm wrong. I'm telling you all right now, I hope I am wrong. I hope they break through the glass ceiling. I hope that you guys prove everybody wrong. I hope you guys really get it. But right now, I don't know why you think I should believe you're going anywhere when the history in WWE always seems to repeat itself. Call up from NXT and get buried on the main roster. A product of Triple H, get buried on the main roster. Give me a break with this shit. I'm not about to sit here and change my narrative for anything. You guys think that you're going to be handed the world. You guys think you're going to have unscripted promos and you're going to go out there and do what you want. Please go reach out to Wyndham Rotunda and ask him how he thought things were going to go. Bray Wyatt walks on in on day one. He's the most interesting and biggest superstar that they got. The Fiend debuts. He's the most over thing in the entire company. By Crown Jewel, when he won the WWE Championship from Seth Rollins, WWE absolutely murdered his act, and it only got worse because then he was slaughtered by Goldberg. So I want you to ask Wyndham how he thought things were going to go, and if they didn't give freedom to Wyndham and creative reigns to freedom over something he created, what makes you think WWE, Bruce Pritchard, and Vince McMahon are going to give you that same luxury? It all dies by the hands of Vince McMahon. I know, because I've been watching this shit for 30 years. Meanwhile, you're a pro for how long? 12 months? You're not even a fucking veteran yet. You're a rookie. Give me a break with this shit. Whereas, I'm a podcasting veteran. I know exactly what's going on. I see it, I watch it, I understand it, I analyze it. I don't need to hear shit from somebody on social media like this. Whereas I'm successful in what I do, and I get more traction on social media than he does. Give me a fucking break with this shit, man. Hit row. I hope they do it. Prove me wrong. I'll take back everything that I said. Prove me wrong. Guys, I'm about to get out of here. I hope you all have a great Sunday afternoon. If you enjoyed the video today, please hit that thumbs up. Let me know what you guys think down below. And hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That's Twitter and Instagram. And please make sure you guys go support my sponsor today, Audible, audibletrial.com/script. 30 days free and 1 free audiobook of your choice. Guys, I will be back live in the venue during Monday Night Raw's post show right here on YouTube. Night 2 of the draft. We'll break it down just like we did on Friday during SmackDown. And if you missed that and today's episode as well with the podcast on Saturday, episode 393. All of this stuff hopefully is in your sub boxes. If not, go to the homepage. Everything you need is right there. Guys, I'm getting out of here. I'll see you back on Monday. Have a great Sunday, and we'll see you for night 2 of the WWE Draft.